Welcome to another edition of The Walking Dead.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of EPL on Pub.
Class is in session, hitting the books on Pub Sports.
This is another exciting edition of the main event on Talking Ant.
Welcome to the good, the bad, and the money, a NFL prize picks and prop show where we break down over 20 props in less than 30 minutes. This show is sponsored by Prize Picks, so if you haven't, go on over to prizepicks.com or the App Store and use promo code PUBSPORTS for your first deposit up to $100, minimum of $25 for a 100% match deposit. On this show, we have get right spots, great spots, and the game of the day between the Chiefs and the 49ers, followed up with Billy Brizz's favorite spots of the slate and Big Show's picks play of the day. So sit tight and let's get to the money. Smash the like if you haven't, and let's get right on into it. Get right spots. Let's talk about these Dallas Cowboys versus the Lions, guys. Dak Prescott's fantasy score over 18. Dak is back, and it was a plan in my opinion. Jerry Jones is not an idiot. I know a lot of us may think that, but this man is not an idiot and didn't want a quarterback controversy. So he allowed Cooper Rush to go get lit up last weekend versus the Eagles, and now he allows Dak to come back with no pressure versus a layup opponent. The Lions are 32nd in total yards allowed, 32nd in points allowed, and 32nd on third down percentage. This is the worst defense in the league by the numbers. Do not forget who the fuck Dak is last year. He was a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and now he has all of his weapons to have a monster day. And that brings me right into Ezekiel Elliott's rush yards, over 65.5. We just talked about the Lions are 32nd in yards allowed. Well, how about 32nd versus the rush, allowing a $167 yards a game? Now, I know they do run a two-back system in Dallas, but the Cowboys have been determined to feed Zeke. I don't think the offense scheme changes much with Dak in. I think they pound the rock a lot and go to the play action. Zeke has had 15 plus carries in all but one game, and that was to game script, and it took him away from the passing. Zeke in 6 games this year is averaging 64.5 rush yards a game, and that's the fucking number we get is his average. This line is way off here, guys. Zeke to the moon and back. And that brings me into the last spot right here. Michael Gallup's fantasy score over 9.5. Michael Gallup hasn't even come close to his ceiling this year. And what I mean by that is they allowed Amari Cooper to walk because they believe in this man. Well, so do I. Last year, as the number 3 in this wide receiver with Dak at the helm, he averaged 10.1 fantasy points a game. And now he's the number 2 in an offense that gets a great spot, like I've been saying, guys. Lions are 26th versus the pass and 32nd in points allowed. With Lamb getting the number 1 coverage, Gallup is going to eat with Dak back. Cowboys roll here, guys. Cowboys are in a nice spot to smash. Now let's hop all over to the part of the show where we're going to talk good spots. And before I do, I see my guys, Rocco Rogers and Tom Miggins. What up, though? Go hit the share and the retweet on my Twitter if you can, or if you haven't, smash the fucking like, and let's talk about good spots. Terry McLaurin, receiving yards, 53.5 to the over. Yeah, man. Scary Terry. So he's in a good spot? Well, technically not by the numbers. The Packers are the number 1 league versus the pass, allowing only a $164 yards a game. No Carson Wentz, and well, who the fuck have the Packers played, guys? Yes, they are number 1 versus the league, but they've gone up against Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, and a washed Tom Brady. Now, I'm not saying Tyler Heineke is any better than them. No, matter of fact, he's actually worse. But one thing last year, if you pay attention to props, you know Scary Terry gets fucking picked on by Tyler Heineke. That's just the only way this man looks. And 396 pass attempts, McLaurin seen a whopping 32% target share from this man on 126 targets, averaging 62.6 yards a game with Heineke in at quarterback. This ain't Carson Wentz. We've got to roll with what we know Heineke's going to do. This is 10 yards off what the man averages in Heineke, so sign me up for some Scary Terry. And then the next good spot, guys, is Lenny. Playoff Leonard Fournette's fantasy score over 17. The Bucks are a 13-point favorite and should be with what's going on in Carolina. No offense and a not so great defense. The Panthers are allowing a $133 yards on the ground a game, 26th in the league and 22nd in points allowed. Fournette has at least one touchdown in the last 3 games. In his last 2 games, he has 24 plus touches with 240 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, this man is seeing a nice work of the share, and I see a 2 touchdown, 100-yard type of day from playoff Lenny. And then we're going to get into the guy that our man that's coming up after me told you guys about a few weeks ago, and that's Kenneth Walker III. And we're going to take his rushing receiving yards over 87.5. Billy Briz told you about him a few weeks ago, and now with Penny on the IR, he's taken a hold of the starting running back position. Last week, he had 21 carries for 97 yards and 2 catches for 13 yards on 3 targets. Yeah, and now he gets an LA Chargers team that loves to let the running backs eat, 18th in total yards allowed, and 23rd versus the rush. He's a true 3-down back that no matter what the game script will be, he will be on the field. And the Seahawks are a 5-point dog, so there is a chance for negative game script, but that's fine. We still expect him to be out there, and that's why we want his rush and receiving, because if game script calls from taking the runaway, we don't want to be screwed. He will be out there. He will see at least 3 targets and get at least 15 carries. Sign me up for Kenneth Walker III over 87.5 versus my sorry ass Chargers. And then we're going to get into the last great spot of the day before we talk about the game of the day. And this is Josh Jacobs' fantasy score over 16.5. This may be my favorite spot, and I'm not even a Jacobs guy. He just gets a smash spot while being the focal point of this offense. The Texans are 30th in total yards, 30th versus the rush, allowing 165 yards a game, while the Raiders try and find their offensive stride. Jacob is in his offensive stride, with the last 2 games having 368 scrimmage yards and seeing the end zone 3 times, averaging 34 fantasy points a game. Sign me up for some Josh Jacobs fantasy score, please and thank you. Now we got the game of the day, and this is a banger, guys. We got the Chiefs at the Niners, and a lot to talk about. So a shout out to the chat. I see you all. AOD, Top Set, Rocco Rogers, and Tome motherfucking Miggs. My guy. Hit the share, hit the retweet, hit the like, and let's get to the money. Game of the day. Travis Kelce's receiving yards over 70.5. Yes, we know Kelce is the number 1 passing option for Mahomes. In 6 games plays, he's averaging 75.8. So we're actually getting the man's less than. Hold up, swolled up. And this play goes back to last year, picking on the 49ers with the tight end position. Now, if you look at the numbers, it will say otherwise. The 49ers this year have been really, really good versus the tight end position. But hold up, swolled up. Let's dig through the numbers. Let's get into it. There's only one team this year that's even targeted the tight end 4 times versus the 49ers, and that was Higbee. And my guy was on a ladder play that day, I believe. And Higbee had 10 catches for 73 yards versus these 49ers. The 49ers are a top 10 defense in the league, but they are vulnerable to the tight end position, and this is the best tight end in the league. And that brings us into my second play on this game, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire receiving yards over 13.5. The 49ers D is number 1 in yards allowed, number 2 versus the rush, number 2 versus the pass, number 2 in points allowed. So yeah, the Chiefs are going to need to use Helaire in the pass game more than normal to keep this 49ers D line honest. 4 of 6 games this year, Helaire has had over this 14 receiving yards while averaging 34 yards a game in those games. This is a ladder play, guys. If you like this spot, this guy's averaging 34 yards a game in these spots when he is used as a receiver. Last week, he was not used in the passing game. They lost, guys. I expect them to be more involved in the passing game. That way they know Helaire's not just in to run the ball. This guy is a 3-down back. Yes, they like to use 3 different backs, but I expect him to be heavily used in the passing game this week. And 13.5 is just too fucking low. And now let's talk about the other side of the ball. And we can't talk about the 49ers without bringing up McCaffrey. How is he going to affect this offense? Who's he going to take from? And so on. Well, I doubt he's going to be in the game for more than 50% of the snaps, guys. He doesn't know the playbook, and I do expect them to script some plays for McCaffrey, but still, all in all, this makes Jimmy G a better quarterback, guys. That dump off is for real now, guys. So Shanahan in this, I don't expect McCaffrey to start vulturing from people until into next week and the week after. I don't think he runs straight into a full workload, but I may be wrong. I do not have a report on that, so that's just going off intuition. And this brings us into the two plays that we're going to look at on this 49ers side. Deebo Samuel fantasy score over 16. Man, oh man, do number one wide receivers eat versus the Chiefs. We were all over it last week with Diggs, and we're going to write it right back with Deebo Samuel's fantasy score. Mike Williams had 8 catches for 113 yards and a touchdown for the Chiefs. Pittman had 8 catches for 72 yards. Mike Evans had 8 catches for 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 3 catches, $124, 2 TDs. And last week, Diggs, 10 catches for $148 and a TD. Deebo was averaging 7.8 targets a game, 3.8 carries a game, while seeing the end zone in half of his games. Deebo should fucking eat this week, and I will be all over him. And the other guy I'm going to be over on is another guy that someone else is also going to talk about on this show. I don't look at his picks, and it happens to be that if 2 people are on the same play, you should probably go put some monies on it. So let's talk about the last guy that I'm going to talk about, and that's George Kittle's fantasy score over 11.5. He missed the first few weeks and was eased back into the offense the first 2 weeks back. And the last 2 games, he has been what we expect to see from this man. He is averaging 8 targets a game with 6.5 receptions and 65 yards. Just on his average alone, we hit this, and we're not even talking about if he finds the end zone. The Chiefs allow 43 yards a game to the tight end position, 11th most fantasy points to the position. Let's go, kitty, kitty, kitty. It's Kittle day, guys. It's Kittle day. So those are the get right spots. Those are the great spots, and that is the game of the day. And now is the part of the show where we bring in someone who doesn't poison you with Sharpie's opinions. We bring in a guy who's leading in the top 2, if not 1, in Jimmy the Bag Sunday Pub Hub contest. And this man is 5-1. Billy Briz, my guy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Sharpie. Excited, man. It's the best time of year for sports fans. We got NBA back this week, MLB playoffs, and of course, NFL as always, man. That's why we call it the good, the bad, the money, because it's time to get to some money this weekend.
Ooh, I like it when we got pumped up, Billy Briz. This guy got some sleep last night. We got him back, and he's ready to go. What is your first look on the day?
First look of the day, man. We're going down to Cleveland, man. We're looking at Amari Cooper over 53.5 receiving yards. Cooper has fit nicely with Brissett this season, man. He has had double-digit targets in 4 out of 6 of Cleveland's games so far and a touchdown in 4 out of 6 games. Gets a great matchup this week versus the Ravens secondary, who have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position this year and 198 receiving yards per game. Cooper has gone over this number in 3 out of 6 games played. That's the reason why it's a little bit low, but I'm all aboard the Amari Cooper train this week.
Man, I love hearing Amari Cooper's name because I think Gallup gonna finally fill that role that they've been missing this week. So whoop whoop, Amari fucking Cooper is a legit number 1, and he's been eating. So what you looking at for number 2?
Number 2, man, we talked about this last week, and I think it was the last time I talked to you on the phone we talked about this guy. But we talked about him week 2, and now he's back in our good graces here. Wan'Dale Robinson, over 8 fantasy score, pretty low number. We got Shepard on IR, Tony and Galladay both out. Robinson finally returned last week to make his season debut, catching 3 of 4 targets for 37 yards and a touchdown. He has a good chance of leading this wide receiver core at the end of the year, still under the radar target. Do you have anything else to add here on Wan'Dale Robinson? Because I know you're a fan of him as well.
It's not that I wanted to talk about Wan'Dale Robinson. What's blown my mind is how good Daniel Jones is looking as a quarterback, bro. That's what's fucking creeping me out, dude. The dude last week and the week before was looking like Danny Dimes, was fitting the ball into coverages, and they were catching the ball. Not they. Wan'Dale Robinson was catching the ball, bro. So if they start to just connect in that, you're gonna start seeing those Tony numbers from last year, bro, where the dude was just a monster. Wan'Dale Robinson is a damn beast. So yeah. Got to look at him, and he's out there in a lot of fantasy leagues still, guys. Like maybe somebody worth to go scoop up and just sit on your bench and see how it plays out. So speaking of how it plays out, how's your third one playing out?
Oh, this one's going to play out a little bit contrarian here. We got Joe Mixon over 65.5 rushing yards. The attention's going to be on the Cincinnati Bengals passing game, but Joe Mixon, there is room to be brightful here because between weeks 1 through 4, Mixon had only averaged 2.73 yards per carry. But since the Bengals have been running more of a shotgun approach in the last 2 games, he's averaged 5.6 yards per carry. Last week's game script wasn't ideal, being down 2 touchdowns in the third quarter versus the Saints. But this is a much better matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons. They should be able to control the game clock here. And Mixon should be able to eat in this matchup 65.5 rushing yards for one of the elite touchers of the rock at the running back position. Seems like a little bit too low.
Yeah. I was actually looking at the Higgins there because Higgins at home, his receptions go up 2, his targets go up like 1.7, his yards per catch go up 5 yards. Something about Higgins at home, that dude eats, but they seem to know that too because they jumped up his shit when I went to go look that way, and I was like, you sneaky mother. Beep. But yeah, we got one more freaking play for you guys from our man Billy Briz, and then he got an NBA show right up after this show. So what you want?
Yeah, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. That bell notification is going to get notified for all of our live videos on Pub Sports Radio Monday through Sunday. And last play of the day is going to be Taylor Heinicke over 13.5 rushing yards. Everyone's like, Taylor Heinicke. Yes, Taylor Heinicke over 13.5 rushing yards. He was a sneaky dual quarterback threat last year when he started for the Commanders. Last time these two teams met, he threw for 268 passing yards and a career-high 95 rushing yards. Taylor Heinicke is going to get the job done. He's better than Carson Wentz. Maybe, maybe not, but I don't care. As long as he gets those rushing yards and gets my boy McLaurin the ball, we'll all be happy, right?
Man, I'm going to bet that singly, bro. Like I didn't even think about it till I saw you put it there, and I already knew what you were gonna say afterwards. I was like, oh, fuck, Carson Wentz ain't gonna run, guys. That dude ain't trying to run. Heinicke, this fool's trying to dive for a fucking pylon for your boys, bro. You might even want to look like at an anytime touchdown. This dude, he plays like he's Brett Favre, guys. Like, at the end of the day, he doesn't belong out there, but dude, this fucker acts like he does, bro. So, man, I love me Heinicke. You know he's gonna fucking run. And if you're looking at DraftKings sneaky wise, run a Heinicke stack. Play the tight end and McLaurin. That's all he looks at. All he looks at is tight end and McLaurin. You're going to have yourself a sneaky little lineup. So, Billy Briz, you got a giant fucking day tomorrow and a big day today. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. Make sure you stay tuned for the NBA Pub Hub after the conclusion of the good, the bad, the monies. And then tomorrow, Peter Yan versus the main man, Sugar Sean O'Malley. Isn't that the main event everybody's talking about? We got UFC tomorrow in the morning, 10:30 start. Make sure you're here.
That's 10:30 Eastern, guys. So if you out here with me, just roll on out of bed, flip your TV on, and watch us fucking go, because it's going to be a great day. Thanks for joining me, my guy. Have a freaking blast on the NBA Pub Hub, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to hit a quick commercial, and we're going to come back with our 2-pick prize picks with me and the man, Big Show Pigs. Welcome back to the good, the bad, and the money. This show is sponsored by Prize Picks, so go on over there if you haven't used that promo code Pub Sports. Your first deposit up to $100, minimum of $25. They got you. So do us a favor, do you a favor, and go use that promo code. If you're ever in San Antonio, make sure you stop by Southtown 101. Those beautiful hamburgers you just seen up there, they taste better than they even look. And that's coming from a guy who only eats fucking hamburgers. Straight bang for your buck, best place to be at in San Antonio. Live music, good drink, local crowd. Make sure you stop by Southtown 101 if you're ever in the San Antonio area. Big Show, my guy. This is my favorite time of the show. How are you doing today? How was hunting the other day?
Not bad. Seen a few. It was I had shot out opportunities, but it started raining really hard, and that's the last thing you want to do when you're deer hunting with archery is shoot a deer and have to try to track it in a rainstorm.
Well, quick question off the board. You shoot all your deers with archery?
Do I shoot other deer?
No, only do you use guns on deer?
Yeah, when it's in season, yeah. November 15th, we'll start the rifle season here. So it's bow season up till then, and then 15 days of gun season, and then back to bow season for the rest of the year.
Does the meat taste different with a gun or a bow?
Time of expiration, probably would taste a little bit different, you know, like especially when you shoot it with an arrow, it makes a wider hole on the entry and the exit to let it bleed out quicker, which would change the taste of the meat a little bit. Not much, but.
Well. It's enough about hunting, and let's talk Prize Picks and football, brother. What are you looking at for your play of the day?
So I seen that you talked about the Dallas game earlier. I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to take Jared Goff over 1.5 touchdowns. If you started the season thinking that Jared Goff would be the 11th best quarterback in the league right now with 11 touchdowns and almost 1,400 yards in only 5 weeks, minus this is coming off the bye too. It's coming off the bye. He's getting St. Brown back. He's played 2 division games so far this year, and he's cashed this prop in both of them. He got 4 versus Washington and 2 versus Philly. Range of competition right there with Dallas, especially Philly. So if you got 2 versus Philly, he's got 3 so far this year. I'm going to rock Jared Goff over 1.5 touchdowns passing.
You are such a homer, bro. Actually, I went and picked Jared Goff up in my fantasy league because I fucking have no quarterback, and the guy went and shit on me last week when I played him. So,
yeah. No St. Brown, though. St. Brown runs that offense.
St. Brown is huge, like you said. St. Brown is this guy's number one. I almost looked at his prop play to give out today because how much he looks at St. Brown.
Yeah, I almost went yards, but I just think that the 1.5 touchdowns is I feel like we can get one early, and if Dallas is up, especially up by a large number, we might get a scrub Jacksonville normal touchdown. Like the late.
Oh yeah, he's good for it. These little pesky Lions don't quit. They'll be down 17 and come back just to lose the game by 7.
Yeah, if I don't get all my touchdowns vultured by Jamal Williams and maybe Swift if he decides to play, I feel like it's pretty good.
Swift can help you receiving though. He can get you in there receiving.
Yeah, you can definitely score that touchdown, but you know the feeling of when you got them props and you got them busters like a Jamal Williams type done it everywhere, every scenario he's played in, he's busted vultured somebody's shit.
Yeah, well, you know who will not be vulturing me this week on my freaking pick? Ain't no way I can get vultured because Austin Eckler does everything for these Chargers. Fantasy points over 18.5. This guy is no longer going to be named Austin Eckler on this show. As I renamed Tom Brady Goku because he sacrificed greatness for his family, we are now redubbing Austin Eckler Mega Man. That's right. This little mini midget does it all. And man, the Chargers line is not as bad as it did look last week versus those freaking Broncos. They were missing their starting all-pro center, and he will be back in the lineup. They are down their 2 tackles, their left and right tackle, but they've been down with them for most of the season. They do get that Pro Bowl center back, and that dude will hold the middle of the line. He makes the calls. That's a big, big deal. Now, the Seahawks are a gift to all fantasy football or DFS players. They are 21st versus the pass, 31st versus the rush, while allowing the 20 most points in a game, 27.2 points per game. The last time the Chargers went up versus a D like this was the Houston Texans and Cleveland Browns. Versus the Texans, Eckler had 60 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, while chipping in 6 catches, 49 yards, and another touchdown for a whopping 34.9 fantasy points. And then let's talk about those Browns. That's what he did versus the Texans, my bad. Now, this is what he did versus the Browns. 173 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. How about 4 catches, 26 yards, and another touchdown for another 35.9 fantasy points? One thing the Chargers do is use Mega Man, and this midget right now is going to be the easiest casher of the day on Prize Picks. This guy's going to have multiple touchdowns, 100-plus yards, and I'm not even saying the Chargers are going to win the game here. I just think this game is a super over, and out. I think you can load up players on both sides in DFS or DraftKings type lineups, and you're going to eat in this game. I think much eating shall be done. Defenses haven't been being played on either side of the ball here. So another tad bit thing to add in on the Chargers, 39 straight times into the red zone they have allowed points. So yeah, there's going to be points in this game. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to the chat. Smash the like if you haven't. We have NBA Pub Hub coming up right after this show on Pub Sports Radio. Big Show Picks. Any last words, and where can they find you?
See you fuckers tomorrow, 10 a.m.
Damn, like that, bro. Mic fucking drop. Until next time, I'm Sharpie's Bets on Pub Sports Radio.
We be pubbing.